Well, hello there. Welcome to the Obi Foreign Alliance. I'm Jacob,
And I'm Luke.
and in today's video, we're doing our awards for 2021. Like and subscribe, it helps out the channel a lot. Hit the notification to be notified for next videos.
Our award for the show that most surprised us this year. This could be, I guess, a new show or a show that maybe got renewed and did something different, or just something, or even a show that you just not heard of and then you watched it this year and it surprised you. But it would need to be something that was released this year. Do you have something in mind?
Yes, something that surprised me is, even though it was a show that was popular, is a show called Midnight Mass that I did recommend, but it's a horror show, so normally I don't tend to watch horror shows, but it was just surprising because normally I don't like horror, so I just enjoyed it and was pleasantly surprised, and I would recommend watching it even though it's a horror show, but it's still good, so I think that's why it gets the most surprising, because I was surprised about it.
I think for me, the show that surprised me this year would be When They See Us.
Okay.
I'd been told by a lot of people to watch it. I kind of kept putting it off, and then eventually when I did watch it, I was really captivated and it blew me away, and it was probably one of the best things I saw all year. So that really surprised me for something that I didn't know, a true story that I hadn't heard of before. It just ticked a lot of boxes in terms of that surprise factor, a show that I didn't realize I needed, but now I love and I'm glad I watched. So that's our surprise category. Another category, what about like a best newcomer, a show that brought season 1 this year and you hadn't, and your most favourite season 1 that came out this year of the new.
It's the only murder to the building, because I like my crime mysteries and my crime thrillers, and the cast did an amazing job. It basically did what Truth Be Told did in season 1, but in a really clever way, and I just enjoyed the podcast factor of it, and I'd highly recommend Luke watches it as well. It has renewed for a season 2. Hopefully they don't screw it up, and I expect big things for season 2, and yeah, only murder in the building.
Okay, this is not what I thought you were going to say. The show I'm going to pick is what I thought you would have went with, and maybe you've overlooked it. I'm going to head down the Marvel route, and I'm going to go with Loki.
That's my favourite show.
Yeah, so I think Loki was my favourite new show to come out this year. It had a lot of things going for it, considering it wasn't a new character, it wasn't a new kind of premise. It carried on from movies upon movies, so it had a lot of foundation to help it. But in terms of a season 1, I think it was my favourite introductory season to a show I've probably ever seen. I think out of any show, I think it really nailed a season 1, even from the first episode. So that's my favourite.
Favourite show of the year?
Okay, let's move into you kind of just gave it away. What was your favourite show of the year?
Definitely Loki. I really enjoyed the world building, the areas that Loki is he wants to do bad, and just, the character development, and really this show out of all the others does the plots for the next coming movies the best, and I just out of all the other TV shows, I think Tom Hiddleston, did the best acting performance I can think of, and for me, it's my favourite show of 2021.
I think it's something a bit different. I really like Mighty Ducks Game Changer.
Okay.
I think that was, again, nostalgic. I like the Mighty Ducks movie franchise. I think this carried it on very well, and very similar to your Cobra Kai. It carries on several years later, and the characters come in and they kind of been seen as a different light, and I think it's a cool thing to do with shows. So that was my favourite show of the year, season 1 of Mighty Ducks Game Changer.
Maybe shows that we were disappointed that unfortunately didn't get a season 2 and got cancelled. I know what comes to mind straight away.
Okay.
Utopia.
Okay, so a favourite show that was released that didn't get a season 2. So you think Utopia?
Yeah.
I think I'm going to go with the same thing, actually. I really enjoyed season 1 of Utopia. I had nothing to complain about. I thought it was thoroughly enjoyable, and it didn't get renewed, even though a season 2 already existed in the UK version. So they already had content they could have copied, but it didn't get renewed, which is very upsetting. What show was the most disappointing of the year?
I think, truth be told, season 2 definitely was the most disappointing, and rightfully so.
I agree. It's between that and Mythic Quest, but I think, truth be told, was the most disappointing because the first season was so good, and the second season could have been so many different things, but they happened to choose the wrong thing every time on every episode in every scenario, and to a point where I didn't want there to be another season, but we've recently found out there is.
Yeah.
And I just think it's going to be worse again. I think they can't undo the travesty that was season 2, and it's sad. It's a big epic failure for a show that had so much promise from season. Favorite acting performance of the year?
Tom Hiddleston.
Yeah.
As Loki, I think he just did a really good performance. He was trickster. He was, he captivated the screen, and just every moment he was on it, even though he was the main character, he was just amazing throughout the show, and want to see more. And out of all the Marvel shows, I think it well deserved its season 2. I don't think any of the others even deserve the season 2.
Like Reese Witherspoon in season 2 of Morning Wars.
Yeah.
It's a show that I've really, really liked. Season 2 is not quite as good as season 1, but it was still great. I think Reese Witherspoon puts in a really solid acting performance in that show. The other 2 that came to mind is in the Shrink Next Door. I think Will Ferrell and Paul Rudd's characters are so different than what we're used to seeing them. And I think in terms of acting quality, that's pretty unique to see them play these different roles. But I haven't seen how it ends yet, so I feel it'd be unfair to give them an award for something that I haven't finished. What is your favourite release on Netflix this year? Could be a movie, show, limited series.
Release on Netflix, I'm going to go True Story with Kevin Hart and Wesley Snipes. I just felt like he's basically playing himself. His character name is Kid, and I did a recommendation of the show, and I just feel like from his performance in Fatherhood, he did a fine job in Fatherhood, but coming from Fatherhood, what wasn't a great movie, to this show was just a really good show. You think it's going to be about his rich life, and then the mystery that happens with it is, I just think it was a really good show. And I just love limited series, and probably a runner-up would be When They See Us. It's probably better because it's a true story, but probably performances-wise, I just think Kevin Hart and Wesley Snipes is a really good show, and I highly recommend Luke watches True Story as well.
Yeah, I'm going to go with, I think When They See Us was the best release on Netflix this year. The same reason why I gave it the best newcomer or the most surprising show. I think it just ticks a lot of boxes, and it makes you want to do your own research and find out more. I think it was the way they planned each episode, I think they did a really good job. And yeah, maybe second to that, I'd lean towards maybe again, I'm not certain if it came out this year, would be the Last Dance. I think that was quite a good documentary and a great new release on Netflix, but I think that may have came out last year, I'm not certain. So I'm going to go with When They See Us. What about the best release? I haven't seen a lot on Amazon, but you watched a few more things than me. What was your best release on Amazon this year?
Yeah, probably The Boys.
Yeah, so The Boys season 3, or was it 2 that came out this year?
2.
Yeah. I'm going to go the same. The Boys is probably the best show around at the moment, and just waiting for the next season to come out. It's kind of what we need. With Marvel taking over the world, this is the most logical thing to then kind of be anti-Marvel, but in all the good ways. So I can't wait for season 3 of that to come out. Best release on... Let's break up. Let's go. We'll go Disney Plus and then Marvel Studios Disney Plus, because they are both under Disney Plus, but they're different. Like, there's a very different category. So what was your favorite release on Disney Plus that's not The Mandalorian?
Yeah, season 2.
And that was better than...
Mandalorian?
Yeah, so Mandalorian would win that. I've seen Star Wars Visions and didn't really rate it, and I don't enjoy The Mandalorian, so I'm not going to give either one an award in that category for me. But the Book of Boba Fett does look better, and I am looking forward to the Obi-Wan series coming out. I think I will enjoy that a lot, especially knowing that Hayden Christensen's going to be back in it as well, which makes it quite cool. Let's move on to best...
Apple TV show?
Yeah, what was the best Apple TV show for your opinion this year?
This year, I haven't finished off Morning Wars. Probably season 2 of C. I just felt like it was a lot better than season 1, and Jason Momoa's performance is amazing. Unfortunately, he's actually going to have less screen time in season 3 because of his busy movie schedule. So season 3 might not be as good, and the show might just die away. We'll see with that. What's yours?
I'll go Morning Wars. Out of... Mythic Quest Season 2 was a failure. Truth Be Told was a failure. Lizzie's story was almost unwatchable. Some of the other shows, I watched an episode here and there and didn't get into. I haven't watched C. So out of what I liked, I think Morning Wars was really good. I think it's one of the best series around too. So I think it would compete with other series on different streaming services anyway. What about your favourite movie release? Cinema or on streaming?
For enjoyment factor, it has to be Spider-Man No Way Home. It was just epic. But when it comes to like movie and true story, actually, the more I think about it, I actually really like Joe Bell.
Yeah, I think the same. I really enjoyed Joe Bell. That and...
The Last Duel?
Yeah, The Last Duel. They really stood out for me as two amazing films for the year. But I can't go past Spider-Man No Way Home, because I thought it was my most anticipated movie of the year, and it exceeded its expectations. It can't not come away with the award. But ignoring the massive power that Marvel has, for two other movies that, I knew nothing about. The Last Duel was really, really epic for a long movie, and Joe Bell was also great. But saying that, the acting quality in those movies are awesome. You got Mark Wahlberg, we've got
Adam Driver,
we've got
Matt
Damon and Ben Affleck. Like, ignoring Leonardo DiCaprio, they're like the biggest male actors in the last 20 years. Like there's like that's pretty big up there. So those two were probably better movies, but not as enjoyable as Spider-Man. But Spider-Man had so many other things going for it that it's hard for it not to be successful. It's either it can only go two ways. It's either going to be a mega hit or a mega flop. It can't be in between. So that's our best movie for the year. Is there any other awards? That's the biggest one, the best movie of the year.
I guess what would since it's the holiday season, what would we recommend to people, since people have time to watch something?
I would say watch The Last Duel. That's on Disney Plus at the moment.
It is now, yeah.
Yeah, so if you have Disney Plus, watch that. it's a movie that you probably missed at the cinemas because from the trailers it doesn't seem interesting, and it's a movie that didn't get a lot of build up, and it kind of came out during COVID peak time, so it may not have been released in a lot of countries. So I would say if you got Disney Plus, watch that, because that is a movie that's very different, old school, because medieval times, but super relevant in terms of today's society with women's rights and sex and consensual sex. So it's it's quite an epic movie. What would you recommend people to watch?
Probably Joe Bell and the Last Duel.
I don't know if Joe Bell's on any streaming service yet, so you might struggle to find Joe Bell, or you might be able to rent it somewhere. But yeah, again, that's something I think got missed at the movies. It's a movie I think finished short, like it felt like it was going to be longer, and it surprised you, but it was an okay surprise with a sad ending. Other things that people may have missed this year. I think Big Shot's worth giving a watch again if you got Disney Plus. If you like the Mighty Ducks at all, give Mighty Ducks Game Changer a watch. If you haven't dived into the Marvel series yet, you just watch the movies, you need to watch Loki, otherwise the movie is going to start to get a bit confusing. And WandaVision will definitely help. And Falcon the Winter Soldier, I don't feel like that adds anything so far.
It adds something for his own movie. When he eventually has his own movie.
So those would be my standout things to go watch if you haven't already seen them. Cobra Kai, new season's coming out on New Year's Eve, so if you haven't watched the other seasons, binge watch them now. They're pretty easy to get through, and you probably, once you start, you won't stop. So I think you'll comfortably be able to binge watch that in time.
What do you think has been our most memorable thing that we have done on the channel when it comes to reviewing?
I've enjoyed that we've added doing the kind of episode recaps for big releases, especially Disney Plus releases. So that's been a cool thing we've been able to do this year. So we started with
Loki.
We did Loki, then we did Falcon the Winter Soldier, and now we're doing Hawkeye. It's been getting a lot of views compared to other videos. They're fun and easy to do. It's kind of like homework. You've got to watch the show in between episodes, in between each week, and then we then discuss it. I think it's been a cool thing we've done. What other type of videos have you enjoyed that we've made this year?
Trailer reactions, and funny enough, our most viewed video is the Batman trailer reaction for some reason.
I don't know if that's a timing thing, but it just seems to have got a lot more views than others. They've been interesting to do. We've also added in the kind of episode reactions. They haven't quite worked out the best way to do it, but at the moment we're watching the show, we're pausing it in between having chats. So far we've only done it with Star Wars Visions, which is something you liked, and I kind of found boring at times. So
you got to recommend something to me now.
So I've got some shows in mind I'd like to recommend for Jacob. I'm thinking next year maybe doing videos where we maybe not watch a series, but I either pick out a show and we watch one episode of it, and then Jacob gives his opinion, so try and pick a show that I really like. Or even we could utilize like the Netflix feature where you can just select shuffle. And I'll pick a random episode of a random show, and we can react and talk about what we thought, and we might stumble across our new favorite show by doing that. But the thing is, you will get a random episode in a random season, but it's be a cool thing to discuss. We're like, oh, we've never seen this show, but I think this is what it's about. It might be a fun thing to do. You got any ideas for videos we might attempt next year?
Would actually like to do a podcast. Start to get into do podcast. Think would be really cool to do.
Podcasting. It's something we need to look into how to do. But I guess our podcast might be a weekly episode. Like 30 minutes long, where we might just talk about different things. It might be like, what did you watch this week? What are you interested in? What are we going to be doing on the YouTube channel this week? I guess we can try and work out how we can make the podcast interesting for those that might want to listen.
Well, thank you for watching, Luke. Hope you enjoyed our awards for 2021. See you in hopefully you've enjoyed the videos for this year. See you in the next year. Bye-bye.